I'm in day 6 of my fast now. you know, um, so tonight, like when I go to bed, that'll be starting day 7 when I go to sleep tonight. And because the way you count is like when you're a baby, you know, you're born and then that's 0, and then you go up to months, and when you go up to 12 months, then you hit number 1, and then you're 1 year old, and then you go for another 12 months, and then you start your 2nd year, like that. And so, when I count time, that's the way I do it. So yeah, I'm feeling like I'm pummeling my body, or buffeting my body. I feel like I'm punishing myself. I have to suffer the pain of my body to make up for the wrong that I've done to it. Like, I didn't really know I was doing wrong to my body by eating grease. I mean, it tastes good. I thought it would be good for you. But I guess like if you eat fat, it might make you fat. And I haven't really studied a lot about that. I mean, I know my daughter's a vegetarian, and she don't eat any meat. I don't even think she eats dairy products. I don't know. Some people, can't eat dairy products. Makes their stomach hurt. But I never had a problem drinking milk when I was a kid, or eating any kind of meat. So, and I know that for me, like sometimes, because I have been a vegetarian in my life. When I was in the Navy for a while, I decided I was going to be a vegetarian. And it's kind of a real bummer too, man, because one time they had good, them big long crab legs are as big as this thing right here. and I had made up my mind I was going to be a vegetarian for a while, so I had to stick to it. But look, I feel like I'm punishing my body, because when I made that vegetable soup in my crock pot with a big thing of hamburger, and it was 73% lean, so that means you can get it with less fat, like, so 73% would be 13% fat, I guess. 73, 83. Well, I can't do the math that quick, but sometimes I miss it. But 73, 83, 93, 27. So it's 27% fat then. All right. And you can get it with less fat than that. And like when I was in cooking class, when I was in school, I think that was like 6th grade. Home ec. We had home ec. I think it was 6th grade. I can't remember exactly. But I'm just saying that I had home ec class when I was in school, and the teacher taught us to brown the hamburger, and then get rid of the grease, and then add the hamburger to your sloppy Joe mix or whatever like that, or your spaghetti. But my mom always used the grease. Like when she made spaghetti, like she left grease in there, and it tastes good. And I liked it that way. I liked the way my mom cooked. And she made good food. Man, I remember I used to really like it when she made pork chops and gravy, mashed potatoes with that gravy on it, and mashed potatoes, and then pork chops. They're really good. And then she'd add something like corn or green beans. And I used to like to mix my corn up, especially cream corn, with mashed potatoes. Yeah, that's another thing. Since haven't been eating, I'm thinking in my mind now, like, man, when I do eat, I wonder what I want to eat. It's like when I decided to go on my fast, I did make a crock pot full of chicken soup. I took chicken and don't have as much grease. And I chopped it up and then mixed it with vegetables and put it in my crock pot. Well, when I decided to go on my fast, when I discovered how much belly fat I had all of a sudden, then I put it in the freezer. I mean, I just put the whole thing in the freezer. It's in the freezer now, so I know I'll have that when I get off my fast. But of course, since I already learned my lesson a long time ago, when you come off of a fast, you have to at least eat soft food at first. Like, okay, like I'm not going to eat like chicken. Although I give my dogs chicken every day. I give them a leg and a thigh. I buy a big 10-pound bag. I have them in my freezer every day. I thaw one out. I take one out, and it usually has, well, it always has 7 or 8 chunks in there of thigh and leg. That's what I give my dogs. Sometimes I'll have one extra, and so I just put that out, and whoever's done eating first gets it. But and they drink the juice too. Like I've dumped the juice out in a dog bowl. Whoever's done first usually is Boomer, even though there's always bigger pieces and littler pieces, and I separate them. The big pieces, because I got bigger dogs and little dogs. Boomer and Sally, are my biggest dogs. And so I know that, they need a bigger one if they can have a bigger one. And Mr. T, he's the boy, and he's not as heavy, but he's he's like I was when I was a young boy. I don't remember who told me. Somebody said I had like a hollow leg. Like I could like eat so much, never gain any weight, and eat so much, and I played it off or worked it off or something, and but look, it ain't like that no more. And I'm not, like right now, like I'm kind of like suffering like the Buddha. No, the thing is, I am suffering. But it ain't all that bad. I mean, I've suffered a lot more pain than this. This is a discomfort. Don't get me wrong. I'm well aware of it. It's not my first go-around. But the thing is, now I'm valuing food more. And I'm thinking like, wow, man, sometimes I think to my mind, well, I could just take a scoop of peanut butter. Just one scoop. It ain't gonna hurt nothing. Ain't gonna break my fast. Just one scoop, but I don't do it because I don't want to give way. Like I just want to keep it clean. And I don't know how long I'm gonna go on with this fast, but I have a scale in there, and I used to. And the scale is the kind that it has a weight on it, and then you move the weight across the top, and then as you move it across the top, then it balances, and it has a balancer bar, when it's balanced, that's the weight you are, and it has like, it goes up in increments of like I think 10 pounds on the bottom and then 1 pound on the top, you know, like that. And so when I used to donate my plasma, and of course they call it donating it, I guess there's no taxes on it or something, but it's basically selling your plasma. You know, they take your blood out, and then they give you your blood cells back. They separate it in this machine, and they keep your plasma, and your body can, you know, regenerate plasma faster than blood. And they use plasma, you know, for a lot of things in the medical field to help people. Well, they paid according to how much you weighed. So like, if I weighed 170 pounds, I would get paid more money than if I weighed less than 170 pounds. So my scale, when I went to it today, because I didn't check myself how much I weighed or anything before I went on my fast, but I was thinking, I wonder how much I weigh anyway, because I know my stomach is shrinking, and I can look at my feet and tell my feet have changed form also. So I know, you know, that I have lost weight, and I can tell also by my pants, you know, how they fit. And I can even like kind of tell, like, it seems like when I look at my own self when I'm making these videos now, the last couple times, I can see my cheekbones like stick out a little bit further, sucking in more right here. So, but I was at but the scale was left at 158. So what I used to do, I bought some ankle weights from Walmart, and I would put these ankle weights on so that when I went in to be weighed, that I would get up to 170 pounds. So I get paid more money, you know, because they really didn't take out that much more plasma. Because I look at the jars and how high they're getting filled up and everything, you know, and everybody gets the same size jar, and it's just they fill the jar up a little bit different, and it ain't all that much different. And so I just you know, cheat a little bit, you know, make myself appear heavier than I was, you know, when I was doing it. And so, you know, I had ankle weights, and then I put, you know, a belt on. I put heavy stuff in my pocket, you know, just to make sure I got up to 170 pounds. And anyway, so I know at one time my weight was 158. But then actually I know that my weight did go up itself to more weight than that, like probably about 170 pounds. And but it was on that weight, so now and then I remember, well, is what I weighed, 158 at one point. I mean, like, I know that, you know, I've weighed like 160. When I was in the Navy, I was working out really, really hard. Like, I had a weight room, you know. My time off, I'd go up there and try to push iron and stuff like that and build up muscle. Try to get up to 150 pounds. I couldn't get up to 150. I finally got up to 150 pounds, you know, by exercising. And so, but normally I was always 145. And now, and I didn't drink beer back then, so I had 8% body fat. You know, they measure your body fat and stuff in the Navy, you know. And I had 8%. And but like now, I'm probably overweight. I gotta get rid of that weight. That's why I'm fasting, you know. But in conjunction with fasting, you know, it seems like I'm having a little bit of a spiritual experience. You know, suffering. The Buddha, see, his whole mission was the answer to suffering. You know, like, so he went out because he didn't have to suffer. He was a prince, and he didn't have to suffer. But when he seen suffering outside of his palace and outside of his box, like I said last time, like, think outside the box, like that. Sometimes you got to think outside the box. You got to get outside of your own box to actually, expand your perspective and, vision and stuff, and your empathy and everything. You know, you gotta get outside of your own box. That's what education is all about, getting outside of your own box. Things ain't ever nothing is like just as it appears. You know. And so, you know, the Buddha, that was his mission, was to give an answer to suffering and how to respond to suffering, and like how to get out of suffering. Like, so he suffered a lot. If you read his writings and stuff like that, because they actually have his writings, you know. And I mean, it's not like Jesus, you know. We don't have Jesus writings. We have writings from other people of what they say Jesus said. But we don't actually like have his writings, you know. And I'm pretty sure actually we have the Buddha's own writings, but it could be his scribes wrote down what he said too. I don't know for sure. But anyway, so you know, like in my progression here of fasting, I was listening to what the Buddha said, you know, listening to stuff, you know, on YouTube, what different people say and everything, and different Bible stories and stuff like that. And so, you know, I was thinking about that kind of stuff, even if I'm not fasting. I mean, you know. But then, you know, then now I'm in the contemplation of suffering because I'm fasting, but you know, hope, like, and why, you know, like, why do this? Yeah, why make myself suffer? You know, I mean, so I can make myself proud of myself, or maybe partly so I can be not ashamed of myself, you know, more proud of myself, maybe. It might just kind of be a reflex. You know, I see in my belly, I said, I can't have this. I don't want this. It's not a good sign. And other things like that. I mean, you don't try to figure everything out, but I do contemplate stuff, you know, and the reason for things. And so, you know, hope is kind of like a silver lining around a dark cloud for me. Okay? Because mostly, for me, I've always encountered more of dark cloud life. Not a bright, shiny life, you know, a dark cloud life, you know. You know, like more like struggling, you know, through the night, or struggling through the forest, or in the dark, trying to find my way. In fact, a lot of times when I dream, like I'll be dreaming like that I'm in some kind of university or something, you know, and I'm like I'm trying to figure out like where my classes are, like where's my class, and just confusion, trying to find my way. And it kind of might be, I mean, when they started doing integration, like blacks and whites and lower class and middle class and stuff, you know, started integrating them in the schools. They would bus us to other schools, like far away from our normal school. And I had to go to this one school for a while. And when I got out, man, they had so many buses. Like, I remember I missed my bus. I had no idea what bus to get on. And a lot of times I have suffered with confusion, you know. And then plus my epilepsy, you know, that kind of gave me some confusion sometimes. And the medicine, you know, it made me, I don't know. And just not being fully engaged. But, see, you know, a lot of stuff has to do with our childhood, our experiences when we're really, really young. And that kind of sets the tone for our psyche, for our minds and our feelings, you know, as we get older and stuff. And we learn how to compartmentalize things. Like you can put your feelings in a box, and then continue on and just put your feelings aside, not really pay attention to them or not address them. You can put your pain in its own box, kind of put it off to the side, I mean, you can learn how to disregard pain, depending on how severe it is. I mean, like if you're having a baby, you ain't going to be disregarding that pain. You're just going to be trying to be getting over that pain. Or if you break your leg, or if you suffer accidents like I've been in, tremendously painful accidents. But I'm just saying, right now, I'm out of my suffering. I'm thinking about hope, and I'm thinking about hope the way I define it, like is a silver lining around a dark cloud. Dark cloud never really leaves me, and part of that is like kind of my strength too, because I never get my hopes up. I don't really get like my hopes up. Sometimes it's even hard for me to actually like be happy. Happy is really not a thing that I pay attention to. Like I don't really ever like feel really happy. I could go with the word content, and that is a state of happiness, being content. But happiness has a little bit more joy in it, I think, than contentment. And sometimes I will feel joy and happiness, but it don't last very long. And my what they call demeanor or affect. When I was a chaplain at UVA, I had to document people's affect, and that's their like emotion, that is like their bottom line emotion. Like like some people are melancholy, some people are happy, some people are positive, cheerful, however you want to describe it. It's an affect, and has to do with your emotion, like your like they have like curves, and then they have the middle line, and it's like the middle line thing of your emotional state. And so I don't get my hopes up, because I don't get my hopes dashed. So hope has always been kind of a thing that is intriguing for me. And even in my mind's eye, when I think about, like, I've been doing a lot of study on the universe recently. Like right now, I got it on. I don't know if you can see it. Everything and Nothing, Part 1. And before this, because I'm not really working much right now, because I'm weak, kind of, a lot of times, I'm kind of weak, and my body is like, being forced to eat the fat off of it, instead of food, it has to eat the fat. And so the process, when you go through that, it kind of can make you feel weak. And so I've been listening a lot and sleeping a lot more, and listening to broadcasts. I've been listening a lot about AI and cosmology and stuff, and the histories, learning more about, things that led up to Albert Einstein's, discovery. And then Albert Einstein, he was more Euclidean. I mean, he wasn't Euclidean. Euclidean is like geometry and stuff. But, that's all part of that whole realm of study, geometry and everything. But Euclidean was early on. But then Albert Einstein, he brought together these ideas. They could finally figure out like how they could figure out like how like if you take your finger, okay, you put your finger, close one eye, and then you look at where your finger is, then close the other eye, and look at where your finger is. It looks like your finger goes this way or this way, right? Depending on your perspective of each eye. And then and then by doing that with a telescope looking out, and the rotation of the Earth and everything, and then that's the perspective, and then they could tell somehow the distance up to a certain point by doing that kind of thing. See, and that's how they figure this stuff out. And then and take it like a piece of paper, okay, like this, okay, a piece of paper that's like, it's like two-dimensional, it's just two-dimensional, right? Okay, but if you bend it like this, see, then that's then you're curving. Well, you're not curving space, but you're curving something you're curving it, right? The only way you can tell it is because you have three-dimension. You put a two-dimensional thing in a three-dimensional thing, in a three-dimensional space or whatever, and then you can, and then they say, see space. It really gets deep. So space, see, then I think with Einstein, okay, space curves, and that's kind of like hard to figure out. Space curving, see. That's why the shortest point from point A to point B is not always a straight line, because in the universe there are no straight lines, because everything is in rotation. So if you take the globe, okay, I got my globe here, right? Here, look. You take the globe, okay, you go from the top, and then you go straight down like that, okay? You go straight down from the top, and then say you walk over, and then you go straight back up, see? On a curved space, see, on a curved thing like our world, okay? Then they figured out that that what looks like a triangle on a curve is really actually going straight down, but then say you go over to the side, and then you go straight up to the middle again to the top. See, it's actually, if you go straight, you're going to meet the center of the cylinder, and they explain all this stuff in geometry. And but that's I can't remember where I was going with that, but I wish I was younger again, so I'd pay more attention and study harder, because now like stuff like geometry and the different studies, especially like in space, really impressed me, and I want to learn more about it. And I'm actually kind of studying it now, but I wish I was younger. And I hope you really take it seriously too, and really get interested in it, because it's amazing stuff. Another thing I've been studying is AI, and I'm just saying, like I've been researching and studying, mostly just listening on YouTube broadcasts, and Nova. I listen to Nova, Frontline on PBS, a lot of PBS stuff that they have on YouTube. Thank God it's free. And I don't pay for nothing extra, only Wi-Fi. And so that's how I get this stuff, through Wi-Fi. And they said even what I learned is that on the like, okay, they talk about the Big Bang. See, actually, the universe is expanding. See, it's expanding, and we have a Andromeda on here on my globe. Looking on there on the constellation and everything, I was wondering what they all were and everything. Well, Andromeda is actually what they named a galaxy, and that's okay. That's how they figured out how far stuff is away, and that's how they do this kind of stuff. It's the whole science. But yeah, I guess Andromeda is coming toward us. Like, another galaxy heading our way. But of course, It ain't gonna be here for like, a billion years or something. And but the fuzzy stuff, like from the Big Bang. See, I tried to figure out, for a long time up until 1900s. And I figured it out in 1900s is that why it got dark at nighttime, and why the whole expanse isn't lit up, from the explosion, But actually, see what it is it's so big and everything. The stuff on the TV, they used to have stuff on TV, like when the channels went off at nighttime, it would be all static, and that static is microwaves, and all those microwaves are actually microwaves from the Big Bang, floating through the air. And it's amazing stuff, how they can have like the Hubble spaceship sending pictures of the galaxies and stuff like that, all kinds of galaxies, see? And our galaxy, or our sun, for example, is like a grain of sand compared to all the sands of all the oceans and beaches of the whole world. One grain of sand is like our sun by comparison. And then the really astounding thing is people like you and me can figure this stuff all out and able to see it. Behold. That's what I'm saying. Behold. It's phenomenal stuff. And and that's why consciousness, see, the thing that actually kind of gives me hope is the fact that we have consciousness. Okay? And it's the energy. And like I said, I didn't read the whole article, but I'm going to go back to it. I didn't turn it off. It's still on my phone. About your brain, the quantum field stuff in your brain, even they're talking about now. They're talking about a lot of stuff in the news. I mean, they're talking about a UFO. I've seen a message pop up on my phone, you see a new UFO, seeing a new big thing coming our way, and stuff like that. I see all kinds of stuff. And in the world, man, they're talking about, now they're talking about other wars, tomahawks and everything, lighting up the sky out in Korea because somebody attacking USS Ford. Navy signal: 57 Russian tanks stormed into Ukraine. It just popped up on my phone. I'm just saying, stuff like that. Times are changing. Okay, I'm gonna call this one "The Times Are Changing." Good luck. Godspeed. All right, bye.